Hello and welcome. Welcome to Drakenmemoria. Yay! What is Drakenmemoria, you may ask? Well, it's Dungeons Dragon, or more specifically, a group of people playing Dungeons Dragon. Well, today it is, because tomorrow it won't be, but today it is. Really should start updating that sentence because it just comes out naturally because I've been repeating it for 4 years, but since now it's not just Dungeons and Dragon, I also do map making and I want to extend this even more. Should probably just get more general, tabletop RPG related stuff. Hmm.
Turdy Peach.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do in my mind. Figuring out what was that acronym. Alright, where are we? Oh yeah, so if you don't want to watch Dungeons and Dragons, well, why are you here? The channel is labeled Dungeons and Dragon right now. It's alright, never mind. We understand that you're different, and we accept that this may have been a mistake for you. So we're allowing you to move on. But for everyone else who actually wants to watch Dungeons and Dragons, who wants to watch us do Dungeons and Dragons, whatever shape it's gonna be, because Dungeons and Dragons can become weird sometime. Welcome. It's a pleasure to have you with us. If you're new, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. Yes, Jory is absent today, unfortunately. He did a very selfish thing and decided to prioritize family today. So, we're just going to judge him in silence and say he volunteered to do something stupid, so he has to live with the consequence in the next episode. So... if only. Alright. So. If you like the thunderstorm in the background, it's ambient mixer. If you like the world map, it's WonderDraft. Yeah, that's it, WonderDraft. If you like the dungeon map, it's Dungeon Alchemist. And if there are towns today, it's going to be Canvas of Kings. Publicity done. So, what happened last episode? Oh, you don't need the thunderstorm in the background. Although it's nice ambience. Maybe just reduce the strength of the thunderstorm. It's fun. Well, I like it. I like thunderstorm. I also like blizzards. Not the company, the weather. Well, I have mixed feelings for Blizzard, the company, but not Blizzard, the weather phenomenon. I really like blizzards. So, what happened last episode? The party made its way to the top of the mountain where a long overdue meeting with a dragon would take place. Finally, the gift has been completed. Only the right people were involved. And with the exception of a small mishap during transport, everything went smoothly. The climb to the top was even accompanied by everyone's favorite, slightly unsettling, draconic vassal. However, as all good quests can't conclude without a bit of adventure, one task was placed, not infant, in front. I'm so tired of those autocorrect. Of our heroes. A task that is not exactly simple. Negotiating a truce between a green dragon and a silver dragon. Yay! That's gonna be fun. And so, with this task set forward, and a companion added to the group for the duration of this quest. Our party of adventurers once again use the teleportation to get to where they need to go. Fortunately, this time, there wasn't a mishap. Because this time, the distance would have been much greater if there had been a problem. They really could have just reappeared in the middle of the ocean. That kind of would have been funny. Yeah. Oh, we'll teleport there. 48 miles off course. Where did that take us? In the ocean.
That's also why Raimi casts like a water breathing every single day.
Fisher, you're muted. That's why we haven't heard you ever since we started.
That would make sense. I was gonna say I have done that before, and it was with a helm that only had one charge.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. Luckily, we had a folding boat, so we were cool.
Imagine if you do that in a setting where you can travel between planets. Oh, we're going to transport to the moon. 5,000 miles off course. So, although I don't know why so many adventurers at least went once to the moon of their world. Imagine trying to use a teleportation anything from the moon or to the moon. Especially since you're looking at the moon, it's alright, I'm going there. But it's an optic illusion. Oh, damn it. Okay, so you reappeared. Let's go look at the map exactly. The transportation was a success, even though you rolled a little bit low, but it worked. You teleported probably just a few miles off the village that is no longer there. And looking at the map, you had been told that there was a pass going through this area, which is roughly this size. Can we have something similar? Yes, here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 19 dots. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Oh yeah, it's 1.5. 1.5. That's interesting. I think my calculator is getting old. 19 times 1.5 is equal error.
Dang.
I guess we'll never know.
Ah, that's better. Alright, so to cross the mountain, it is going to be roughly 30 miles. But it's rocky terrain, so difficult terrain. Which means it's going to be calculator is doing weird stuff tonight. 2 days and a half to traverse the mountains. Well, which is a lot better than 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And those are in the best of circumstances. So, you are near the foot of the mountain. You can see it over there, maybe 5 or 6 miles away. Well, actually, that's a bit far, 5 or 6 miles. No, it's big mountains. You'd be able to see it. At least the highest peaks, you'd be able to see it. Oh yeah, now we don't need a thunderstorm in the background. So, Jorg is unusually quiet. I think he's unsettled by Annie's presence, Just like audience, but worse.
Understandable. Also, just traveling with somebody that just casually monitors everybody else's minds would be wild.
Yeah. Especially someone like her. She looks like a human. She is sometimes childish in her behavior, but there is this sense of stability, of elderly when you look at her sometime. An odd mix, like Jorg was forced to face the last time, of looking at someone that feels 9-year-old and 90 years old at the same time. She looks like a 20-something human. A bit tall for a woman, but other than that, physically, there is nothing that sets her apart much. Except that she's wearing incredibly light clothing, absolutely no armor. She's barefooted. Her hair is completely frazzled, curly, frizzed in every direction. It's nearly a bob on her head, but not completely. Rusty red colored hair. Closer to brown, but when you look at it carefully, there's this rust element of red hair in her hair. She has a backpack which can barely hold enough to travel for 1 day, but hey, okay, could be magical. She could have a whole kitchen in there for all you know. And from time to time, you don't know why, she just starts skipping as she's walking in front of all of you. Then she stops and she turns around and looks at all of you and says, "Come on! It's an adventure! Isn't that supposed to be fun? Isn't that what everyone likes doing so much? What everyone dreams of? Adventure throughout the world."
Yes, it's also dangerous.
Ah, come on. I'm sure you're exaggerating things.
That's why not everybody does it.
Because people tend to exaggerate a lot?
No, because they die.
Oh. Well, death is a part of life.
One we would like to avoid for at least a couple more years.
Hmm?
Have you ever been away from the mountain?
Of course, I've traveled.
Okay.
I've traveled all around the world. I've followed Mistress everywhere she went. But also, I have had a few travels not scheduled. She gives you a wide smile.
Hmm.
Her hand just go rummaging through the bottom of her backpack, and she takes out. You've never seen that before, but the way she starts playing with it feels like she has a lot of practice with it. It's sort of those weird. It's made of wood, the size of a small orange, like two halves made of wood. Place one next to the other, and there's a small slit between it, and there's a string coming out of it. And she just wraps it around one finger, and she starts playing with it. For Andre, that's a yo-yo.
Okay, I was like, it was like, is that a yo-yo? That's okay. Cool.
But for Fisher, audience, and Remy, it's what the heck is that?
The greatest invention since sliced bread. Hmm. Um.
It's fascinating. Sometimes she gives it a good wrist trick, and it just goes completely at the end of the rope, and it just stays there, and it spins and spins and spins and spins, and she just flick her wrist slightly, and it comes back to her hand.
Audience will instantly assume it's some form of weapon.
Mhm.
Which,
Yeah, it's like a small version of Toby's meteor hammer.
Yeah.
well, technically speaking, audience is not far from the truth, because it really was a weapon. That
Also, in the time that Fisher's been talking, audience has summoned Magna, since we'll actually be traveling on ground for a bit.
All right. Oh, that's nice. I haven't seen anyone do this in a while.
What, summon the steed?
No, that's a steed. Oh, I thought you were just summoning a big cat.
It's no, it's, yeah, I mean, yes, it's a big cat. I also ride it though.
Oh, that's weird.
Is it?
I don't know. I feel there is something strange to it. I mean, he has a cat, and he points toward the audience, and he rides it. And then she points toward Remy. He has a cat, but he doesn't ride it.
I feel like there's an obvious reason for that can be.
But both come from the same realm.
But one's bigger.
Yes.
Via different methods of bringing them here. Of
Yes,
different
yes.
levels
Of
of
course,
power,
of
too.
course. Power limitation. And she looks at Remy. You really should figure out a way to increase the power of that little spell. You'd be able to call a bigger cat. I've heard so many people say it. More cat is better. Although that's not the word they were using.
All right, let's get going. Got a lot of long days journey to do. All right,
My knowledge
guess
of
We're
wizard
absolutely
spells
drowning
is
in pussy
correct.
right now.
The upgraded version would actually give you lots of cats as opposed to a bigger cat.
And she starts walking. She walks backward for a little bit. She points toward Jorg. Oh yeah, that's right. There is also another spell that does this. He can call a lot of cats or a big cat. I think his spell is better because he can call both.
technically, yes.
What kind of terrain are we
Mountainous.
looking at? Okay. Like like road or off road?
You don't know.
Okay.
I think he's wondering whether it's worth summoning steeds.
Yeah.
It would be difficult terrain all the way, as far as you know, because
Okay.
that shortcut is simply because there is a gap of something like 12 miles in the long chain of mountain where there are huge peaks coming from the ocean and they become shorter and shorter and shorter and then they drop for a little bit and maybe 12 miles later you see more peaks arriving, so you can see that element as you're walking because the highest mountain you can see from very far away. So you are summarizing that you're going to go in the gap where mountains are smaller and so more manageable. You won't need to have, well, climbing equipment. At least you hope so.
All right. Once we reach the mountains, audience will kind of go on ahead for, like, he'll scout ahead and then come back because I assume for mountains much more easier since everyone.
All right, all right. So you walk a little bit, and she accompanies you all the way. Sometimes she plays with the yo-yo. Sometimes she starts talking to one of you, and she starts talking and walking backward, not paying any attention to what's right behind her. But there are those weird moments where you have that moment of watch out the stone, and she just skips over it backward. That Remy being the most dexterous person in the group, you sort of have that moment of saying, she's doing extremely dexterous things as if it was child's play. So there's something weird there. But also, she's never done anything that would let you deduce that she is that agile. She doesn't seem that graceful when she rummaged through her backpack. But once again, there's that odd element of her where she looks like she's not dexterous, but she's showing feats of extreme awareness and either extreme dexterity or moderate dexterity, greatly helped by a awareness of her surrounding, nearly superhuman awareness of her surrounding.
Mm.
But she always looks in your directions. So she could, in some weird way, be using detect thoughts, and that's probably something that Fisher would think about because of his arcane knowledge. I mean, it would be slightly twisted, but she could be hijacking your visual senses when she's walking backward through thought detection, giving her the ability to see what you see and not be surprised by what's happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Fisher's just very unsettled by this person.
It could be a highly dexterous warlock.
Yeah. Yeah. You walk a little bit, you reach the base of the mountain after maybe an hour and a half. You sort of have a moment of relief when you reach the base of the mountain, followed by, of course, it wouldn't have been that easy, because you see this little path, very narrow, going into the mountain. And so you have that initial, oh cool, there's already a path. Someone's already done that. That's going to be so much easier. And then there's something written on a very dilapidated board made of wood. It's written in Elven as far as you can tell. So who can read Elven in the group?
Raimi.
Okay. That's going to help a lot.
But I guess Fisher could take 10 minutes to
Yeah,
learn
I can
Elven
read it
himself
if
for
you
a
give me
second.
10 minutes. I'm gonna start casting.
So
I also want to think like Fisher's just like, no offense, Raimi, but opens his book, starts reading.
I mean, you gotta remember, this is not anything about you. This is me being too dumb to.
Like you're not the problem, Raimi.
So you,
Now, if this were Jorg, he would be saying completely different thing, and
it's nothing personal, Remy, but you know, you can't read that well.
I've been trying to train birds for years to read, and
No, you don't know why, but Remy, you sort of feel attacked because Fisher takes the book out, and then you see Annie looking at Jorg, and then looking at you, and she has that little motion of. So, Remy, you learn 10 minutes before Fisher. It's written on the board. It doesn't translate exactly well, so there's a little margin, but something like Bloodleaf territory or the Bleeding Leaf territory, something like that. That does, and with your knowledge of thieving cants, it does feel like a warning to people entering this pass that a group of rogues would have claimed it. But it's old, unmaintained. And Fisher, you learn all of that 10 minutes later. So, so this is why I'm saying it all out loud. It's not maintained at all. As if this used to be relevant maybe 10 years ago. But not so much now.
you know what? Raimi's just gonna take the sign, flip it over, and start carving a different symbol into it instead.
Then once you're done carving it, Fisher is done casting the spell, and you let him see the spell. And then Fisher learns of what's written on it.
Look, it's easier to ask forgiveness than to ask permission.
Does Remy say this out loud?
You know what? Sure.
And he looks at you for a brief moment. I'm not sure Mistress would agree with you. I mean, you've heard what happened when you steal part of a dragon's hoard. That's not a forgiveness that you want to have to ask for.
That saying is generally used with regards to more less outright hostile actions. Something that you would have likely been granted anyway, or could have.
That's such a weird saying then. Why would you have a saying that only applies in a very small set of circumstances?
That's what sayings are for.
I thought they were for more general things.
I mean, it's still pretty general.
Well, not for me.
Raimi Minor Illusions, a page from an encyclopedia, like regarding like terms with different parts of snow.
Well, that's why it's fun adventuring. You learn new things every time. Some you can't really agree with, but now I know what people mean by saying this, and well, I think it's time to move on. So, did you learn everything you needed to learn from that piece of wood?
I think so. It seems like this used to be some kind of territory, but it's old and not maintained, so either, well, yeah, they probably aren't around anymore, which could be a good or bad sign.
Raimi gives a shrug and then like the.
I agree. I think. Wait a minute, was that for us or for them? She looks at you, Remy, when you see she says this.
Holds up 2 talons.
Oh, okay, good. Well, let's get going then. If we're going to mess about with the in the backyard of a abandoned thief den, it's always a good thing to stay alert.
Yep.
Audience, I think that's why you wanted to have your cat. At least that's what you keep saying. Thinking, I mean. Were you thinking it or are you saying it?
Both.
Oh.
That's why I was offering to scout ahead and stuff with Magna.
Yeah, okay, go ahead. I'm gonna let you do your thing. I'm only here as an observer and a guide for dealing with dragons.
audience is gonna go off. I'll roll a stealth roll and a.
Before you leave, I will. What do you want help with?
I think both with Magna are the same, but I guess perception. Which do you think is more important, perception or stealth?
Does she already have advantage with one of them?
She has advantage with both.
Oh, okay, then I can't do anything more. Never mind.
Okay.
It'll just make you look hotter.
Okay.
Like that were possible, but
All right. Perception is a 19, and stealth is also a 19.
Okay, well, that's easy to remember.
19's across the board.
That's so annoying. I keep getting that bling notification that someone sent a message, but I got nothing. Why? What's happening?
Have you joined any servers recently?
No.
Hmm.
I don't know what's happening with Discord. Alright, so you start moving through the mountain. Going ahead a little bit, scouting the area. There's an eerie silence everywhere. And it's a bit of a bag of mixed feeling as you're moving forward, because one element inside of you keeps telling you that it feels like you're being watched. But another element just keeps telling you that, nah, that's not it. It's not that you're being watched, it's that you should be watched right now. But it doesn't feel like anyone's there. As if you were picking on residual intentions instead of actual intentions. This canyon, this little passage through the mountain feels, the way that it's made, that there are so many places where someone could hide and spy on you. But your senses just keeps telling you that there's nothing.
Okay. Well, keep going unless something happens.
You keep on moving forward. How far behind is everyone else?
That's a good question.
I wouldn't go further than where they were like, I'd say 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes behind.
Okay. Okay.
It's a lot farther ahead than I would have said.
Yeah. I'm just gonna. Okay. So
You are the one with the steed, though.
that's for 1 minute. 10 minutes. That's. Jeez. All right. So, audience is scouting ahead. something like half a mile in front of all of you. Every time there's a small bump in the road and it goes like this, you completely lose him. And when you reach the top of it, you sort of see him over there, this little dot in the distance.
Yeah, if I knew how far he was going, I probably would have done a telepathic bond, but oh well.
Well, you can. You're used to an audience doing this. Although usually he only moves a few turn in front of you, not a few minutes in front of you. So do you? Do you call him back? call audience on the orb because he's too far away. Audience, can you come back here for a moment? Do you cast the spell or do you let it slide for now?
He'll
Honestly,
learn
there is
best if something bad happens.
Like, there is a non-zero chance that the reason why a particular group no longer occupies this area is because another one came in and took over.
Yep.
Usually, it's a 50-50% chances. Either they abandoned it or they got killed by something bigger or more numerous.
And if they abandoned it, that's possibly because the land
something bigger was coming.
Inhospitable.
Either way, it's like an audience being several minutes away when either something happens to him or something happens to us. Not great. So, like, maybe, Raimi will do a safety call. Then,
What's
then
up,
of
Raimi?
course, like Raimi wants to just taps his head, makes the come hither motion, and then taps his head.
Okay, audience will head back to get closer to the group.
He didn't understand what you were saying, but he understood that you wanted him to come back.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they noticed something I missed, so I'll come back.
Well, it takes about 3 or 4 minutes for audience to come back with the group because you're moving forward also. So it's not 10 minutes to catch up. It's just 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah.
40
What's up,
combat rounds later. It's like everybody's dead on the floor.
Is that what Remy is thinking about?
Wait, specifically 40 combat rounds later.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, just going over all the different moves you could have done in a fight or audience could get here.
So I just want to know if that's what Remy is thinking about right now. We could have died 5 times over before he came back.
I mean, like, I would imagine, like, Raimi would go through, like, a few different, like, past scenarios that either he personally or the party has been in, where it's just, like, completely surrounded by an ambush, which has happened a few times.
Yeah. You see Annie looking at you. Do you want me to help the point across?
So, Raimi gives a thumbs up.
As the audience. As you move forward and she feels audience coming back, you recognize a few hand motions that she's doing and this just murmur of something. And then you see this large image covering the entire area where you are, right before audience starts being able to notice what's happening. Audience, I'll have you make an intelligence saving throw.
Sure. That's a 9.
So, as you're watching, everyone's arriving slowly, and you see Jorg looking slightly traumatized. You see Fisher in the distance. You see Remy, and you see Annie looking at looking at them, walking forward, backward. And suddenly you see this shadow arriving from nowhere, just jumping inside of the group. You see this blur of motion everywhere. And then you hear screams in the distance. And then silence.
Damn, guess it's time to go find a new party. Audience will sign off.
Yeah. Shucks. Oh.
Damn. Oh well.
Puts on helm of teleportation. Beam me up, Scotty.
Beam me out. No, okay. Audience would ride quickly up on Magna. Or actually, no. If it went silent and there were screams and then silence, audience would very carefully ride up to try and observe what happened to see the situation.
When you get closer and closer, you start smelling blood in the air. No one in the party is moving. Remy's on the ground, Fisher is on the ground, Jorg is on the ground, even Annie is on the ground. There's a bit of blood everywhere. And you see this shadow leaving quickly. It's just a blur. It's because how fast it's moving. It just.
All right.
Remy and Fisher. You see Annie is going.
If they weren't moving, and I'd wait for the shadow to fully leave. Since if it wiped out everyone, including Annie, that fast, I obviously would have no chance against it alone. And then I'll be like, well, hopefully it didn't take the diamonds, because if they just died, I could maybe teleport them back to the garden to res them. And then I'd go up to check on the bodies. Or see if any of them were still alive. So I'd probably go to Remy first to see if he was...
Like, let's see, the diamond collection's usually somewhere in...
Yeah, I'd be like, Remy probably has the diamonds, so I'd probably go to Remy first to see what was going on. And also to see if any of them were still alive.
Okay, also, what's going on in the audience's mind right now?
I mean, honestly, like, he's like, okay... They were obviously attacked. It wouldn't have mattered if I were there if they all died instantly. He's like, honestly, I'm glad I was up front, so maybe there's still a chance to... Like, he's worried, but he's also like, okay. He's trying to be, like, rational about it. He's like, okay, at least it looks like their bodies are still intact. Hopefully I can get them back to the garden and res them, you know. Adventures do die. So an audience does this. So he's like, okay, hopefully I can get them all back to the garden and res them.
All right, well, you arrive much closer. You start evaluating everything. You see the blood trails everywhere. Blood spatter. Oh, it looks horrible. Remy, there are feathers around him. They're still just slightly, gently floating in the wind.
I would probably lean down and check his pulse to see if he had any pulse, to see if I could, like, heal him, since I'd have, like, lay on hands at the ready to see if I could stabilize any of them.
What does it look like audience is doing?
Well, you're on the other side of the illusion. It's a major illusion that she just casts. She's altering smells. She's altering sounds. So you see him. He's there, and he has this hesitation. He looks around.
All right, but we can see what he is seeing.
Well, yes, because she imaged everything a bit
Okay.
away from all of you. Not a lot. He's maybe 10 feet away. So enough that you can easily see what's happening. But
I just go, this is really fucked up. Yeah, hey, audience, we're good.
Okay.
You're
just as he's bending over to grab Remy's
this
wrist.
bitch is crazy.
This bitch is crazy.
Aww. That would have been so much nicer. And you see the illusion drop, and you see the illusion drops, fades, it disappears as if it was made of mist, and it starts rolling away. And you see her with a wet a wet handkerchief, just about to let audience, just under where audience is, so that's what you would have grabbed. I was just giving matter to what Remy was fearing. I mean, he wanted the audience to know what it felt like. I just asked him.
I'm pretty sure that's not what he wanted.
Remy.
Staring down at his own dead body.
Jeremy's just traumatized now.
You seem to have this very carefree, this is all very fun attitude, which, cool, good for you. You just showed our friend a horrific scene of all his friends dying.
She looks at you for a moment. She tilts her head. She looks at Remy. Huh. So you don't know each other all that well. That's always interesting. I didn't invent anything. I just showed what fear was inside of Remy's head. That's what he's going through when this is happening. It's interesting how you all reacted. Oh well.
What the fuck?
Fisher,
That's still a terrible thing to do to somebody.
Andy, you said you
The whole point of there's still a huge difference between what somebody's literal worst fear could be, like in the moment, and then actually seeing it play out. Like, it playing out in your head is way different than seeing it play out in front of you.
Is it?
And also, running that as like an experiment on the people around you is also really fucked up.
Oh, I asked for permission first, didn't I, Remy?
You asked for what you believe was permission. You said you asked if you could help drive the point home, which would generally be, see, I would interpret that as like, this is, just be more careful, not like make him think all his friends died.
She starts walking backward and she looks at all of you. She's just going, well, I think he already said that several times in his past. But the audience keeps doing it. So who drove the point across? Him saying so or me showing so?
Interesting.
Hey, audience, does she have to come? I would like to leave her behind, please.
Well, she is somewhat under our protection on a task from the dragon, so I feel like we probably shouldn't just abandon her.
I think she would be perfectly capable of making her way back on her own. She's
However,
got
that
the
may...
vibe of being.
Well, I
having way
don't
too much fun right now.
necessarily disagree. That was not the task given, and I can't forsake the responsibility that was placed on me. However, Annie, have you traveled much with other parties, or have you mostly traveled on your own while you've traveled the world?
Well, it has been a while since I traveled with anyone. But mostly with Mistress.
That is not surprising. So,
she has a very open mind.
Adventuring groups work slightly differently than traveling with a dragon. There's... How do I put this? There's a certain reliance and trust on each other and team. We all understand we're strong individually, but we also understand that we're stronger as a group and as a teammanship. So if we have disagreements or don't understand things, it's always helpful to talk things out or be willing to show each other things. We don't... How do I put this? We don't mess with each other in a way that could lose trust or put people in, situations where they might expend resources or use danger. For example, if I had...
Audience, how close were you to just orbing us all out?
Fairly. I wanted to, if I had checked and I had determined that you guys were actually dead and not just injured, I probably would have orbed us out.
And then we'd be back at the garden, and then that'd be a whole thing.
So there's a certain level of, relying and not trusting, and trusting in each other's abilities. I don't know. I don't really know what you are, so I don't know how to explain it to you.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm teaching a child or reminding an old person not to fuck with people for fun.
But I wasn't doing this for fun. I was only expressing what was in someone's mind, and I asked for permission first. But if you think that was too much, I'll respect the dynamic of your group.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
I will travel less far ahead. I'll stay, which is, I assume, what this is about.
Yes,
yeah, you were way out there.
And then suddenly everyone starts going in a direction of the point she just tried to drive across. Remy was afraid that you were too far away. Fisher was afraid that you were too far away. Jorg was afraid that you were too far away, but he's not there, so he can't say that that's not what he was thinking.
Jorg is actually having some very secret, but very real feelings for audience, and just not being able to see that ass clapping up and down on
I
top
think
of
Jorg,
Agnes.
who already had a fear of dragons and their power, might not be doing well with what just happened.
Yeah.
Would be my guess.
That's why he's even more traumatized right now.
Knowing Jorg's character, he's probably mentally not doing well. Just all right. I guess we'll keep going. I'll go a minute ahead of everybody.
All right. So you go back to your scouting. I was gonna say the eerie feeling stays, but now you always have that moment of there's an eerie feeling, and then everyone looks toward Annie for a brief moment, and they look forward. And, oh shit! Is it her or is it the area that's weird?
So Raimi now has just reminded himself that at some point he really needs to just get audience a very nice bow.
Kind of wild that we haven't. You're muted, but yeah, especially with how good his dex is.
Like it'd just be nice to if audience would be able to have the ranged option at some point. So even if you won't ever really use it
at range, so what's the point? Why would you attack if you can't smite? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's audience. He needs to fight his enemy in glorious close quarter combat.
Dude, unless I'm misremembering, I think you can at least wrathful smite with a ranged weapon attack. But
I think the spells work.
You're muted, Sam.
The spells do work. Sorry, some of the spells work.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on forward. There's this eerie feeling that just keeps creeping up everywhere, as if you're supposed to be watched, but no one's there. And even you, Remy, knowing a bit more about the Thieves Guilds and how an ambush would be set, time is moving forward. Half an hour, 2 hours. It feels like you went through 5 different places where it would have been perfect for an ambush. As a matter of fact, you were expecting an ambush. But nothing happens.
so as he passes those different places, just scoping out potential future base. It's just gonna put a special arrangement of rocks here, a special arrangement of rocks there. Just
He's mapping the area to create the new base.
this would be a great place for an ambush. This would be a great place for an ambush. Wait, this would be a great place for an ambush. This would be a great place for an ambush.
Then you have
This
Annie,
would be a great place for prisoners.
and you have Annie looking at you. Do you want us to go through different scenarios of ambush? You seem very obsessed with this. She raises her hand for a brief moment. You recognize it, that she's about to cast a spell. No, that's okay.
Makes the X motion.
Nothing.
She does have a brief moment when she looks at all of the time where she offers you to express your mind more freely and you decide not to. She does take a moment, Remy, and looks at you and says, do you often hold back what you're thinking because of this difference you have?
Definition?
What?
Definition?
You're asking her for...
Yeah.
Since she is more in tune with what he's actually thinking, he's just saying the word definition, but I'd imagine that as she's poking around in his mind anyway,
The
He's
concept.
basically asking her to define what she means by often, as in like put numbers or a scale to it.
Well, as we're walking, as time is going forward, you keep having those thoughts. You're worried about audience. You are weary about Jorg. You are worried. You are worried about ambush. Yet you say nothing to anyone. So it feels like 7 out of 10 times you simply say nothing and don't let anyone know what you think. I'm sure Fisher would at least appreciate the warning that there is a very real danger of an ambush over there and over there. Really? Over there? Okay.
That's how they get you.
Yet you say nothing.
Maybe I'm sorry, but we don't have time for charades.
Fair.
So you're saying none of your friends have given you the option to sit down and create a more adequate dictionary to share amongst
Hey,
them?
I tried. That's not fair. I was told that's not how his language works.
Although, I wonder if maybe as Fisher is thinking that, he's also thinking back to the dictionary he tried to make for Terry.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, and then she catches in on that. It's like, oh, so you make a dictionary for your son, but
She'd probably more go looking at you, Fisher, and saying, "Yes, that's exactly what I mean," and going back to Remy. Well, I guess the more people in a group, the more complex the interaction. But I think you should speak out more. Oh, look. Looks like audience found something.
falls into a pit trap. It's like, and there it is.
Hopefully not with the 19.
No. But you did find something that's slightly interesting. At least it's out of place. There's this little formation of crystal. Usually crystals are inside of mountains, not on the surface. And this one is a good fist size. Blue in color. There's a little bit of mist floating around it. Nothing that feels more ominous than the image itself. There's not an overwhelming cold or humming or anything. It's just that image in front of you.
Well, I do remember the crystal golem from the cave, so I'm still going to be careful. I'm going to roll an arcane check on it. Oh, that's a nat 20.
Damn!
19. That's not what I expected when I made that roll. But
Finally,
Yeah, I
all
expected.
of those lessons on gems and their various qualities finally paying off that you were only paying half attention to.
Audience eyes suddenly just go like crystalline, like he's possessed for a second.
Yeah.
Can see every arcane on.
I see all possibilities. The endless universe. Oh, it's lost.
Oh, it's gone.
Even more relevant
Alright.
that you made an Arcana roll. While everyone is catching up to you, and you're just there looking at this for a brief moment, very carefully inside and all. The crystal looks too perfect to be natural. As if it was grown magically. This doesn't happen naturally. It would imply that there is either someone who is intentionally growing crystals in the mountain, or that there is, for a lack of better terms, a radiation leak somewhere. An arcane leak somewhere that's crystallizing minerals on the surface of the mountain. Arcane leaks like this, and that's only because you have a natural 20, that your mind sort of goes, oh yeah, I remember about this. Oh yeah, and I remember Fisher telling me about this. And I remember Remy looking at something like this. And oh, that makes sense now, what Garthane was saying about crystals. Your mind immediately goes back into some of your memories. You know that only maybe 10 miles away from where you are right now, there is a complex inside of the mountain made by a gnomish wizard.
Oh. Okay.
You've been there before. You know that part of it had caved in. So maybe there is another part of this complex that, for some reason, broke through the surface. And there is a arcane leak somewhere.
I'll wait for the rest of the group to catch up.
And then you'll get to impress Fisher by telling him all of that. So it takes a minute for everyone to catch up.
Once they get there, I'll be like, it appears to be an arcane leak, I'll say, pointing at the crystals, unnatural. Remember how there was the gnomish, like, arcane lab? I'm wondering if a part over here it broke through the surface, and it's some form of arcane leak.
Fisher just looks at him. What?
I was just like,
Where'd that
what?
come from?
Tear it out inside Fisher goes, it's an imposter, kill him.
Yeah. Can't possibly be him.
And he was right. He was too far off. Kill it.
Yeah. He got snatched.
We're still in the nightmare realm. It's an imposter of the nightmare.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, it's more for you, Fisher. Okay, everything he said is possible. Unlikely, but possible. Oh, that's so weird saying that about audience.
Are we pretty close to that, where that lab was?
Remy would most likely remember the map area more. You Probably, I'd say around 30 miles exactly from the entrance where you were, where you entered the laboratory the very first time. It's a bit far, but it's not a ridiculous idea that this gnome might have had several emplacements in the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Like Terranad points to you, it's unlikely, but everything he said is strangely plausible.
Mm-hmm. It's unlikely, but the arcane theory backing it is correct, and that's the weird thing.
Yeah. Terranad insists, are you sure he's not, that we're not stuck in a nightmare realm again and it's another... That's too smart for him.
I don't think so.
Could Raimi possibly see, provided that uh, he's shown where audience originally picked it up, like any evidence of of a trail? Because like it's at least unlikely that there's just one lying around with not any others. So theoretically, there could be like a trail or some sort of like.
Make a perception roll.
That's gonna be 25.
25. You take a moment, you look around, and although you don't find a trail, your eyes pick up several growth of different colors. It's very light right now. It's, you see one here and over there. It's really far away, but it's really just because it's about noon and the sun just... No, it's actually sunset because you all left after reaching the top of the mountain. So that's even more the sky start adopting taints of reds and golden and red, reflecting even more off of some of them. And you see another one over there. It's at the limit of your sight. But it's there, and it's a crystalline growth. And you take a moment, and you realize that you've completely missed one over there. It doesn't make a trail, but it reminds you of how mushrooms would grow in a place where suddenly everything became nutrient rich. It would naturally start to form in some places and then expand from there. And maybe over time it would create a path following the most abundant source of food. But for now, it's sort of like the initial places. A bit like, I'm sure Remy has seen it at least once, watching mold appear on a wet surface. It's not going to form a trail. It's going to be a dot of mold here, dot of mold here. And slowly over time, it's going to... So you'd guess that either it's in its initial phase or it's not that abundant. But yeah, there are more crystalline growth everywhere.
They're popping up like rocks. maybe pointing at other growths.
This one red over there, this one green over there, the one that you had in front of you, audience, was blue.
Should we leave it and move on, or should we further investigate? Is there a reason to further investigate?
For you, Fisher, with an arcane roll,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna wait until you do this to keep on talking.
I'm going to enhance my abilities. Didn't help. I rolled 2 5s.
You haven't used your coin yet today.
It's
That's a
actually
good point.
close to the end of the day.
It's nearly the end of the day. Yeah, you could.
That is better. 24.
24. So, looking at the crystal, looking at the environment, I mean, the crystal is interesting in its formation itself, but it's sort of as unimpressive as an artificial crystal would be today. It's pretty, but anyone who is at least a little good would be able to tell you that it's been artificially grown. And it's more of a symptom than a cause. So, I mean, it probably has studying value.
It's evidence of something else happening.
Yeah.
It's not the thing that's important, really.
But I mean, with better equipment, Kahar Thane, for example, could probably be able to tell you even more because he's a specialist at those things. And he could probably tell you what kind of energy made it. But right now, with the equipment you have, unless you plan on using more spells to try and mess with it, it's not going to give you more information than that.
I think we will keep. I won't try digging too much more into it unless as we keep going, it starts to get like denser. But otherwise, I think I would leave it alone.
Okay.
During this conversation, Raimi has pulled out like a map of this area and just like made a big circle.
Interesting mining place.
I mean, hey, if we ever need maybe something, if they're ever like, hey, this could help Krill, we could bring back up this area again. Maybe there's something hidden here.
Yep.
Get down.
Although, one thing that probably Remy would be the one to notice as you're walking and are starting to try and find a place where you are going to sleep for the night, because you kept mentioning it throughout the past 2 years, if not 3, one detail eventually pops up in your mind. It's the pattern of color. It's so familiar. You know, there's a blue crystal there, an orange there, a green there. There's a red one over there.
Almost like they might be representative of the marbles that he has.
Yeah, it's sort of like the same colors, as if the energy of different schools are crystallizing. Even more
And
pushing
imagine
the
a
idea.
crystal of pure necrotic magic.
Well, crystallized anyway.
Yeah.
It's not increasing a lot in frequency, but as you're moving, Remy, you look through your mind and you sort of have to accept the fact that, yeah, it's probably increasing a little. But right now, it's probably not enough to be concerning. Unless when you wake up in the morning, suddenly there's crystal everywhere around you, and then that's completely different, you know.
Well, I mean, if that happens, all we really have to do is just like break it off and lick it.
Yeah, that's always a way to do it. Is Remy thinking that?
No,
Oh.
Zachary is just making a joke / reference to
In Avatar
Avatar: The
joke.
Last Airbender.
Yep, I got you.
Could have been funny. No, but
I'm pretty sure Raimi like knows better than to, lick strange crystals of magic. Now, Fisher, on the other hand,
Doesn't have a tongue.
so instead, you're gonna just rub it on your skin.
Yep. I drink strange potions.
So
I don't lick strange rocks.
we go from Avatar to Ghostbusters.
Only because I can't.
well,
I
I can
had a
almost
tongue, it'd be a
imagine.
different story.
I mean, now that you're Chrome, though, it's just like you might as well just like give yourself some crystalline inserts into your armor. Just you've already given up on stealth, so.
Mm-hmm. Might as well snatched up a bit.
All right. So the sun is slowly setting. Do you set up camp? Do you push the exhaustion through the exhaustion and keep on walking because things are getting weirder, or do you all burst into dance? I don't know.
Raimi never votes for levels of exhaustion.
Yeah, there's no real reason to keep pushing. Also, I need to.
I mean, just because Raimi has a much higher chance than he used to, it's like to make an exhaustion save. That doesn't mean he wants to.
Yeah. No, we can rest here.
Okay.
Magna can keep guard or watch throughout the night. And Fisher.
Mm-hmm.
Annie probably will naturally keep guard. I don't know. She'll do what she wants.
Always watching, Wazowski. Always watching.
All right. So, what sort of camp did you set up? Do you get the cabin out? Do you use the tiny hut, or do you just rough it out on the open?
I mean, it's probably safer to do either the cabin or the tiny hut.
I know.
Just to-
I'm giving you
I
the
think I'd go
option.
for hut in this scenario.
Yeah, I agree.
Like an area of unconfirmed safety.
Yeah.
So, which one?
Pretty, but not confirmed to be safe.
All right. So, which one?
The hut.
hut.
Oh.
Tiny hut.
Okay. Make a perception roll.
Party or just...
You, Remy, because you're the one deciding
Okay.
where the tiny hut goes.
Oh, okay.
21.
21. All right.
Rolled a 4, but I can't get lower than a 10, so...
Yeah, no, of course. It's here we go. Okay. So you start setting up, and come on, stop. you start setting up and you start ritual casting this, and you feel just slightly weird as you're trying to cast it. Then it ends and nothing happens. And just as you do this, you have that moment of... You see a blue crystal next to you. You move away, and you do it again. It works. Why? Because Dispel Magic is Abjuration, and Abjuration's color is blue. Yeah, that moment. Yeah, of course. You move away, and you cast it again.
Grumble, grumble, grumble.
I mean, that's a little worrying that there are still active spells residing in the crystals, though.
It's more the raw energy of it that interfered with Remy's casting.
Okay.
More like Schrodinger's spell. Just like it is every abjuration spell, but also none of them.
Something like that, yeah. Alright. It was just enough to interfere.
Can I request we go on break? Because my parents just got home from a trip, and I would like to.
That's exactly why I was asking for how you were all going to sleep. So we go on a break.
All right, I'll be back.
All right. All right. Music, music, music. Oh yeah, last time you said rain. Let's go with rain again. Alright. Alright, we'll be back in 15 minutes then. Bye. And we're back. Hello. Alright, so you've just set up, the dome has appeared. Everyone is safe inside. It is getting cold. Especially now that you're in the mountains, it's probably even worse. It was probably a moment of relief when you made the dome appear, especially for Jorg, who feels a bit more the temperature. You're in a mountainous area, so it's slightly colder, a bit more chiller, and you're reaching. I think their Halloween is the equivalent of October 1st for you. You've been doing this for 3 weeks, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, you're almost at the equivalent of the beginning of December, temperature-wise. So it's getting cold, especially in altitude, because you've been climbing also a bit, mountains. So when the dome falls, there's this moment of, oh, that's nice being insulated just a little bit. Whew. All right.
So now Rainy is reminded that you have to swap out one of his attunement slots so that he doesn't feel like he's freezing in case something happens.
All right. Well, you'll have ample time during the night. So, sun is slowly setting. If there is anything you'd like to do before the day ends, anything you'd like to plan, things you'd like to figure out, if you want to talk to Annie, if you want to vote her out of the island, the bubble.
You know what? Rami is going to test something.
Okay.
Since, wasn't sure if there were going to be any opportunity to test this proper in a different context. But But Raimi is going to get out his bowl of rainbow. Then he is going to put in all of his multicolored gems in order to produce that rainbow.
Okay.
Then he's going to see what happens if he puts his box in the middle of that rainbow.
The puzzle box?
Yep.
Hold on, it's been a while. Let's see. Puzzle box. The puzzle box. Where is it? Here we go.
Yeah, there's a particular part that, at least during the description, reminded me as either possibly representing, well, one possibility that came to mind was a rainbow. It's so it either wanted to see or experience a rainbow. But figured that Raimi's illusory rainbows would not count. But this seems to be a conjured rainbow. It's so at least give it a shot.
Okay. So, for this to work, you have to tell me which surface is going to come in contact with this.
Hold on. The parts are not in the right tabs.
Which surface are you trying to stimulate?
It's this. I'm just actually not going to say. Wait. Can't remember actually if it was made into an item on D&D Beyond. Pretty sure it was.
Probably, but if not, all right. So when touched, the cube emits a faint shimmer, which trails behind what touched it for a second. So that's one surface. There is a surface that has different textures on it. There's a surface that emits an aroma when you touch it. There is a surface that feels flaky when you touch it. And there's a surface that reverberates when you touch it. And the last surface doesn't seem to do anything.
There was an added part of one of those descriptions.
Oh yeah, I just gave you the first line of each.
Yeah, that's if I remember correctly, I think the shimmer was the one that
it emits a faint shimmer which trailed behind what touched it for a second. When looked at, the surface seems to reflect light by decomposing it, giving the surface a rainbow hue. When looking at the surface attentively, one is overtaken by a sense of completion and calm, as if something had just ended.
Yeah, so Ravi believes that, well, it's two possibilities, but he's testing one because haven't really had time to find a prism. Basically, either that particular side of the box wants to experience the end of a rainbow, or it might appreciate being the end point of a prism separating light. So Raimi is going to try the rainbow first since it just came up. It's just okay, sure.
Okay. All right.
I've had ideas for many of these. There's just never really been an opportunity to test them.
No. That's okay. That's okay. I'm just trying to figure out how that's gonna. So you put it inside. Remy's not gonna like it. You put it inside there and trying to stimulate this side of the cube. And all around you, as you're looking everywhere, the calmness of the mountain, the light having completely faded away, and your rainbow being the only source of light, just appearing and brightening up everything around you. You touch that side, you give it the rainbow, you close your eyes for a moment. Nothing seems to be happening. You open your eyes. You open your eyes. Oh God, you're blind. Wrong answer. You don't know how long it's gonna last, but right now you are blind.
Well, at least he has other senses.
Now you've learned another thing about the cube. Wrong answer mean punishment.
I think you knew that already, but
You have
you just didn't know the
confirmation.
nature of the punishment.
You have confirmation.
Do we know Remy's blind?
Not unless he says or does anything. Maybe if you roll a very good perception roll, because you'd probably see him go.
I feel like that wouldn't be a very good perception roll. He's doing all that. I mean, sure.
He's just
audience.
practicing his blind sense.
No, audience does not notice. Audience is like, so Remy, see anything interesting this morning?
Evening. He did this in the evening.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Nope.
How's the puzzle going?
Well, yeah, you probably everyone probably saw that that rainbow being formed, that little shimmer of light everywhere. You putting a cube there that no one's ever seen you play with before. Audience is completely oblivious to the fact that you're just there and. But I feel like Fisher might notice something.
Yeah, 19.
19, alright, that's kind of better.
What's going on, baby?
Fucked up.
How bad?
I'm not really sure.
And he has a moment
Can
looking at you.
you...
I don't see any. Bad choice of words, sorry. I can't figure out anything wrong with you.
Are you completely blind?
Remy is in complete
Remy.
darkness.
Amy gives the talent up.
It's
Uh,
it's sort of a frustrating feeling, Remy. You know, you just gave a talent up, and you don't even have that visual confirmation. That's what you actually did.
Well, good thing it's night. Maybe you'll sleep and wake up better.
true. Also, audience, would you be able to
Yes, I would.
cure him of that?
Yeah, I would.
So which
I mean, if it's a standard blindness, then yes.
okay. So you go with lay on hands or lesser restoration.
Nope. Lay on hands would not work, I think. I think that's just
It's
curious
just
I don't
to
think
neutralize.
yeah.
Yeah. I would have to use lesser restoration, which I would use.
All right.
Which I don't think has a save, right? No. Blinded definitely. Yeah, I just will touch him with lesser restoration and try to end the blinded.
You touch him. Right there, Remy feels like he's won something because he feels your touch on his eyes.
Yeah.
And you open your eyes. And, you know, Remy, you feel like it was all worth it because you open your eyes and you see audience.
Okay. So it is just standard blindness.
That's gotta be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, that cube do that?
Amy nodded.
We should next time we're fighting a powerful enemy, we should trick one of them into using the cube, and then we'll make them blind, and then we'll beat them up.
Or not?
Maybe the monster's gonna solve the problem and oh no, he's gonna be rewarded. Damn it!
Where'd you get that thing, Remy?
Annie smiles when she looks as she's looking at you and you're trying to figure out how you're gonna answer this.
The usual places.
The no.
Gives a so-so motion.
All right.
Audience, make an investigation roll for me, please. Audience? I think he muted us. Audience!
I don't think you can.
He's gone.
I think he muted himself, and somebody in the room is talking to him.
Oh, well, I think he muted us to hear what was happening in the room. Alright. Well, apparently he doesn't notice anything. Alright. That's called a failed investigation roll. Alright. Okay.
No, sorry, I'm back.
Oh, okay.
I just was. Sorry, I'm back. Investigation roll.
Yeah.
All right. We could have just gone with I failed it. Honestly, that was a pretty safe bet. It's a 6.
Ouch. Okay. Yeah, no. The whole situation just blows over your head. Oh, okay. And this is as far as it goes in audience's mind. All right. Oh, okay. No, that doesn't change anything. All right. I was gonna say, oh well, if you know gnomes, so yeah, that's right. The only audience really know gnomes. So okay, never mind. All right.
Well, yeah, I guess be careful with it. It's a good thing we're already in the dome.
We'll have time to play later, Raimi. As he just puts the puzzle box back in his bag.
I think that's a good call.
Inside of you, Fisher, you're there, and I'd go, yeah. Can I start calling him Bird Brain again?
No.
That's all you
For
hear
some
from the
reason,
outside.
Terranet's mind is filled with frustrated images of Raimi trying to find time to do things, but they're always on adventures.
Anyway,
Oh,
bedtime.
Audience is like, yeah, somehow we're always on adventures. Anyway, let's move on.
Let's move on with the adventure. Listen, it wasn't like Fisher asked for a couple days of rest, but audience had already sent them on a new quest.
oh no. I remember easily, Tobiashi setting all of you on a quest when you said that you wanted to prepare. You didn't want to be late for just a quest.
And then the adventure before that, we were gone for several months on an island where one wrong move spelled death.
No, I think you missed the part before that where we were like, all right, we're gonna have some downtime, and then we'd listen to like the second story of the Bard by accident, and then get sent to the dream world.
Yeah.
Well, at least when you came back, you realized that only one night had gone by, so you didn't actually lose time. All right. So, night moves forward. You have at least one moon in the sky watching over you. Always. Fisher, do you remain sentry? Do you sleep?
Yeah.
Do you meditate? Do you burst into dance?
I will keep watch.
Magna will also keep watch.
Okay. Annie seems to be staying up for a little bit, but eventually she falls asleep. But probably Remy would be the one to more easily notice this. She remains very aware of everything that's happening around. There's sort of that little twitch on her neck when a sound appears, that she seems to react to it without waking up. As if instinctively aware of her surrounding at all time.
Well, I hope other people are aware, because Magna's not. With a even with advantage, with a 3 as my best roll was a 8. So Magna's not actually being that helpful tonight.
Come on, Mia.
She's freaked the heck out because of Annie.
Probably.
God damn it! What the heck? Fisher, do you take Terry out? Do you want to expose him to Annie?
I already wasn't, and then she pulled that thing with the major illusion, and now he's definitely not.
All right. Well, then in that case, you have a very uncomfortable night. Watching everywhere, all around, this very eerie place where it's too quiet but also not enough. You're starting to feel what Remy was sort of hinting to. You know, it feels like this is a perfect place to fall into a trap, but trap just doesn't seem to want to come down. And then there's Annie. As relaxed and as when she entered the mountain. This odd contradiction of someone who has always been around people, but also at the very same time, someone who has spent too much time alone. It's sort of a theme that seems to come back with her all the time. She's completely on one side and completely on the other side. 9 years old, 90 years old, alone, surrounded with people. Cheerful, extremely serious, always at the same time. But the night moves forward, and eventually the sun starts coming up, and nothing happened. You saw a lizard during the night. Just plain old lizard.
Oh, sick.
It's a bit odd to see a lizard when it's this cold, but it's also normal to see lizards in the mountains, so. You're guessing it's moving to a place where it's going to have a large dose of sun when the sun comes up.
Mm-hmm.
And the sun eventually comes up.
I name it Fred.
So now you have a new friend, Fred the lizard.
As soon as it gets bright, I see an eel come, just gobble him up and fly away.
No, Fred! Sun comes up. After a little bit of time, not too long, maybe 10-20 minutes, audience starts stirring, Remy starts stirring, Jorg sleeps in a little bit, but he also eventually wakes up. And then there's Annie. She just starts moving again, as if she wasn't sleeping. You were sure she was sleeping a moment ago, but she just woke up so suddenly, so abruptly. It felt like she was just resting her eyes like this, and she just went, ah. Right? And got up.
All right, let's keep going. I don't know how many more days we have to travel to get to the dragon, but
To cross the mountain, 2 days. I
2
said
days.
2 days and a half. And I said that without realizing that you would only be traveling half a day when you started. So it just...
Okay, so 2 more days. So 2 full days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then when you're gonna come out, you're gonna be roughly where the swamp would be within a day inside of a forest. You'd probably be there. So, but that's also when it's supposed to start getting the most dangerous.
All right, let's start going. Is there a reason we're not using Jorg's spell to travel more quickly, or not?
Yeah, because he seems distracted.
Okay.
Didn't prepare today.
He didn't prepare today, that's fair.
To be fair, how long does it last?
Like 8 hours.
8 hours.
Oh,
We could literally cut the 3 days of travel down to probably 1 day.
Oh, easily one day, yeah.
oh, okay. I thought.
Effectively
Less
makes
than
you
that. I
move
think it's
10 times
like
faster.
Maybe I'm not looking at the right.
3 days would turn into 0.3 days.
Maybe I'm not looking at the right spell. Which spell did you have in mind?
Wind walk.
Oh no, I did not. Definitely was not looking at the right one.
Windwalk.
yeah, I think it's 300.
It is. 300.
But then you have the option to dash, which can double it to 600.
I always just think of it, it's 10 times move speed.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd just do
Typical
10
move
times.
speed, anyway.
Yeah, 10 times travel speed, and you can ignore terrain because you can fly.
Yeah.
Well, you just came out of sleep. I don't mind if you want to. He used it once to get up the mountain, so. Oh, yeah. He used it once. He would have used all of its level 6 spell.
Yeah, till today. That's why we didn't use it that day, because we'd still used it.
So,
Well,
the question is yeah, of course, you could go much faster. You'd be out of the mountain in half a day. It's really up to you. He had it last day, so unless he removed it, you could probably use this.
I mean, I don't know why we're risking dangerous travel when we don't have to. There's no reason
Yeah.
for us not to use it.
Yeah.
Or I can't make a good argument for us not to use it.
Okay. Yeah, up to 10 willing creatures. Okay. The only action. If creature can't find the creature descends. Okay. Last 8 hours. Okay.
Oh. So we'll have Jorg use that spell, I guess, and we'll start traveling very quickly.
Yeah.
So, the question is, do you follow the canyon you're in, or do you just fly as far up as you can and in a straight line?
Not as high as we can. I would still follow the canyon, like the route we were on, but just
well, we were traveling the previous day.
Yep.
Did we notice any large sky fauna? Giant eagles, rocks, that sort of thing.
No, like I said, there was something that was eerily quiet.
I say we just go up and over.
up and over. I was gonna say follow the canyon in case, because these crystals are a little weird in case we notice anything, but that we need to deal with or check out. But
I'd be more worried about because the fact that Remy tried to cast the bubble and it didn't work. I don't want to be zipping through and get knocked out of a cloud.
That's fair. Traveling 300 feet.
Also,
Yeah.
to be fair, he
then-
was nearly sitting on the crystal. That really was.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I think it's fine to go over, but I'll stay close over so I can still see into the canyon.
Yeah.
Like, not really far over.
Okay.
Top of the trees.
Yeah.
All right, so you all transform into wisps of air. You start floating above this region, so it removes the problem of the difficult terrain. Right there, removing the fact that it would have taken you 2 days. So you go at 1 day if you had traveled at normal speed. But instead of taking you 8 hours of travel, it's only going to take you a few hours to get through it all. Just like anything, if you start to dash, that's gonna tire you out. So we're just gonna go with the normal 10 times normal speed.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said.
Yeah, I don't think we need.
I don't think you can dash in the cloud. I don't think that's like...
I mean,
I
you
don't think
can.
Oh, can you?
You can. Yeah. In combat,
In combat, yeah, but...
like.
Well, out of combat, there's always the element of if you start dashing, you're gonna exhaust yourself after a few minutes.
Yeah.
It's not gonna.
We'll save our 600 speed for if we need.
So you're moving across the canyon at blinding speed, nearly 10 times your normal speed, which is nearly as fast as when Remy summons a steed. So
I believe it's faster, right?
no, I think
Than
it's roughly
phantom
the
speed?
same because the normal traveling speed of a person is 3 miles an hour. Oh no, that's 3 miles an hour when you're jogging. Sorry.
No, the cloud is definitely
no.
faster than the steed. Steed.
No, the
is
cloud
like-
is definitely like faster because again, it's like 300 feet per sec or like feet per round. Like meanwhile, I think the
Phantom
horse.
speed is
That's
90, right?
50 feet per second.
Doesn't the Phantom Steed have a speed of like 90?
10 miles an hour, I think.
$13 if it's dashing.
Second. So it's 1 minute, and that's 1 hour. Yeah, you're going with the cloud. You're going at 30 miles an hour, and with the steed, you're going at 10 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So you're moving quite fast, actually, and at that speed, it's a bit hard to see what's happening down below. The eerie quiet still remains. You see these flashes of light of different colors as you're moving. For you, Remy, it's kind of pretty just watching these little confetti dots just go appearing. Hey, blue, pink, white, green. There seems to be an increased density of them. Not by a lot. It's not suddenly becoming overwhelming, and you have that moment where it's like, oh, phew, good thing we didn't keep on moving in there, we would have been completely stuck. No, it's but there are more and more. To the point where there is a brief moment where I'd have, well, any of you paying attention to what's happening below, or are you just trying to zip as far as you can, as quickly as you can?
Maybe like pretty
I'd
colors.
still paying attention.
I'd also still be paying attention.
All right, well,
Just
then you can all roll perception roll.
time for that second nat 20 of the night. Let's go. Do it. Hit it. Yeah, that sounds right. I got a 3.
I got an 11.
So, once again, it's going to
Sorry,
be on
audience, I
Remy.
stole yours.
Oh, you got the nat 20? Okay, that's fine.
So, how much is that in total?
It's only a 31.
Okay. Who wants to roll for Jorg?
What's Jorg's bonus?
I got it.
Okay.
He got it at 22.
Let's go. Jorg's crazy.
All right. So Jorg and Remy are the only one who actually sees this as you're moving really fast. Audience, you sort of had that moment of, yeah, that's what dragon feels like when they fly. That's awesome. Fisher, you're just caught by surprise, you know. It's so weird flying like this. And then there's her there. You recognize the form cloud of her. She seems
Trust her.
She seems eerily comfortable moving at blinding speed in the air. Of course, you know, everything about her is both too much and not enough, you know, so.
Weird and unnatural.
But you can't deny the fact that she doesn't try to be mean. She's always cheerful. She's always mindful of each one of you. There's something to be said about the fact that she wanted to give a voice to Remy. It's just that Remy has a really dark imagination and you never realized it before. But but as you're stuck thinking about all of this, you don't see anything that's happening below. So only Jorg and Remy see what's happening. And I mean, you have a moment where you're thinking about this and you're looking down and you go, damn, is that what my dungeon master did all day? Prepare that thing and we just zip by. That really must suck for him. And then you keep on going.
That's rough. Oof. Welcome to tier 3.
So, Remy, it's sort of a really uncomfortable what you see and extremely gruesome. And Jorg as well, he's just not there to know that he's going to have nightmare about it the next day. Your attention focuses on this blimp of light coming forward. You have just enough time, and it's sort of one of that elements about your unique way of seeing thing, of recording everything. You know when you tell someone, sorry, what did you say? Oh, yeah, sure, go over there. And for some reason you manage to understand it. That's usually because it's your mind going back on your memory and giving you the answer of what just happened. It's sort of like that for you, Remy. At first, you don't understand the image. Then you go back on the image in your mind and you just go, I wish I never saw that before. I wish I'd never seen that, and now I'm stuck with it. It's a bloody mess what you see. At one point while you're flying, maybe at what would have been another day of travel, near the end of it, you start detecting huge splashes of blood everywhere in the canyon. They stretch really long. And they culminate in this place where you see a whole bunch of people which has been pulled apart. And there's this creature just eating the pieces of those, you're guessing, the blood leaf. Or those who replaced them, they've all been dismembered. And that creature is a grotesque creature, all gray with long arms. One arm a lot larger than the other, with hands that feels like spider legs. And it's just shoving a leg inside of his mouth and pulling on it. And you see the bone, and it just goes...
Oh, thank you.
We're good. I mean, it doesn't seem like there's anyone to save down there, so no reason for us to fight it. Do either Jorg or Remy recognize like what it is if they've ever seen something before?
Jorg looks traumatized. Remy has a moment where your mind tries to figure this out. The only thing you can say is that's not natural. And it just sort of makes sense, you know? There's an arcane leak. Crystals growing everywhere. A creature that doesn't look natural. Oh! Yeah! That's probably what broke through. So glad we didn't have to face that.
Remy just like staring down. That's gonna be a problem later.
Alright, so let's delete that encounter and we don't have to think about it.
Hey, maybe we'll come back here one day and then we can.
I know that's why Brady said that's gonna be a problem later, because it's definitely gonna get bored and leave its mountain to go find other places.
Yep.
That could be someone else's problem.
Or a future you problem.
Or a future us problem.
It'll probably be stronger.
Yeah, because I made it to be a challenge now. So if you meet it later, it's going to be a challenge later.
Listen, we'll have enough of a challenge potentially fighting a green dragon. We don't need to fight some abominations right now.
Well, the technical term is monstrosity.
Yeah, monstrosity. Or we drop the bomb on it from above. No.
You can't though, because we're clouds.
And then you hear in Cloud's voice, Annie saying, "Bomb?"
Doesn't need to know.
You don't need to know about the bomb, Annie.
The presence of the bomb is classified information.
Classified information.
All right, well, it only takes a few hours. So you reach the other side of the mountain. By the time that noon arrives, you could still just keep going forward above the clouds, above the treetops, but with your knowledge of green dragons, both audience and Remy, you'd know that green dragons excel at hiding their lair. So there is a high chance that it's going to be excessively difficult figuring out where the lair is.
Yeah.
If you fly.
Oh, we can probably travel like a bit because I think they said it wasn't going to be at the beginning of the woods, but then I also don't want to like necessarily, because there is still a chance to talk with the green dragon. I don't want to necessarily just fly
up.
Yeah. So I say we fly for like another hour or so, and then we'll travel the rest on foot because.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So.
Because I think with our information, it was stated right that it wasn't at the very beginning of the woods after the mountains. It was like at least into the woods for a bit.
Yeah. So you're about here when you come out. The canyon goes here and it exits here. All right.
Yeah. So we'll travel. We'll travel a bit further, like into the woods, and then we'll drop down.
All right. You travel above the trees for a while. There's... Oh, man. Even the pictures that I took for the battlefield, I don't get to send them. That's annoying. They were there on my desktop so I could send them. I thought about making one where you could see the battlefield and one where you could see the grid with a different color for the grid, so Remy would be able to see it better. Damn. All right.
Your work is appreciated, even if we don't get to see it.
Yeah. That's okay. You're gonna get to see the monster one day, I'm sure. In campaign 2. It's gonna be the first thing you meet. Damn, man.
Yeah. Campaign 2 is gonna be really short.
It starts really, really harshly. All right. So, travel about an hour, and there's this element of magic in the forest, but you're also not that surprised since it's elven territory. So the trees seem a little bit more resilient. On the other side of the mountain, most trees, if they're not coniferous trees, they don't have any leaves left. But here, they seem to hold on just a little bit more than everywhere else. The tree seems to be more radiant with energy. The vegetation itself also seems to be more resilient. And as you're zipping through that forest, again, Remy, with such a high perception, you sort of catch this glimpse of people watching, but it feels like you just got, oh, that was an elf. I think they know we're here, but I think we zipped by too fast, so we should be okay.
Fuckers.
Then suddenly, wham! You hit a wall.
Damn.
Just get sniped out of the air. Perfect
Yeah.
arrow.
Those elven archers, man.
You keep moving forward, and you start reaching a portion of the forest where the air feels thicker it feels like you have to force to concentrate a little bit more to move in your aerial state. Suddenly it feels like now you're being watched.
All right. Probably time to drop down.
Mm-hmm. Did we get a... We know anything about these elves?
Very little. You haven't encountered them a lot in this island chain. They mostly stay to their territory. Dwarves have had a few encounter with them, mostly commercial. There's only one village that is inside of their territory that's officially for commerce, but it's much more to the south in this island chain. So this is probably the center of their territory. If they have a capital, it's probably closer to here than down below. They tend to keep to themselves a lot in this island chain. So you don't know a lot. There hasn't been any bad encounter with them, at least large encounter. No wars, no skirmish along the borders, but they guard their borders nonetheless, fiercely. Give ample warning. But elves are elves, so... As with all elves, they are close to nature, highly magical in nature.
Mm-hmm. All right.
The only person in your group who has been raised in this island chain is not here right now, so...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we should probably touch down. We don't want to encroach too far into their borders without making contact of some kind.
Yeah. Or, yeah, cross too far into dragon territory without
Yeah.
peed. All right, let's touch down. I'll tell Jorg to end the spell.
If
Not in the air.
People understand or take kindly to knocking on the front door as opposed to randomly appearing in their living room.
Audience would probably simply know of the reputation of Green Dragon, but because of your god, you'd probably just tell everyone that it's an exaggeration. But Remy, because you've read those books, you sort of know that there's a duality in what audience says and what everyone say that green dragons are. Incredibly smart, and very manipulative. Cruel is also something that's been given to them as a quality. Very power hungry. For them, the end always justifies the mean. If it gives them more power or control over the situation. They have a very powerful disdain of everything that is good. So right now, as you're in front of most likely what is the entrance to the green dragon's lair at the edge of elven territory, you're basically in a neutral zone between the two. Because elves are most likely at war with him in some way or another.
Yeah. All right.
So on one side, you have someone who wants to kill the dragon, and on the other side, a dragon who wants to kill the elves. And you're right there in the middle.
Oh,
Great spot to be.
Yeah.
it's about to be.
Just time it right, duck, and then they hit each other.
To be fair, unless we're literally running to both of them at this point, I think we'll be more going into deeper dragon territory, so we'll
Yeah.
leave the border.
Yeah, and now elves are gonna watch you go deeper inside of a dragon's den. That's
Yeah.
not gonna be awkward to explain at any moment.
Oh, that's why we have Annie with us.
It's a dragon. They're used to random groups of adventurers charging through into its life.
Yeah, they were just like, some more idiots going to die. No?
One thing you know for sure, and that's both you, audience, and you, Remy. Remy, because of everything you've read, and audience, because you know the nature of a green dragon, is that right now, in some form or another, you are already certain that the green dragon is watching you. Actively. He may not be there, but he has a way of keeping tracks of you the moment you enter his lair.
There's
Well, I
always
never thought
one
we
squirrel.
were gonna sneak up on him. So
Yeah, and there's Fisher also, he's...
Yeah.
I did never. Audience plan was never to sneak up on the green dragon. I never thought that was gonna happen. All right, let's keep walking, I guess, or start walking.
The air is thick as you're moving forward. It's slightly suffocating. Well, except for Fisher. You just feel the thickness of the atmosphere.
Ah, suckers.
Well, actually, there's Fisher that doesn't breathe, so it doesn't feel like you have to struggle to breathe, but you do feel the pressure on your shoulders, as if the air was heavier than it needed to. Except for Annie, of course, who seems to be walking through all of this once again with ease, with that mix of hyper awareness and complete carelessness. It doesn't take long before you feel like you're going in circle.
All right, Annie, you're our guide. Guide us to the dragon den.
Well, I'm not here to solve every single problem you have, but I'm guessing that right now this is some sort of spell designed to test people. Since we seem to be
Okay.
going in circle, I think this is a way for us to betray our resources. So, with that in mind, and she gestures for everyone to approach. Maybe it would be prudent to have a non-verbal way of communication. And she looks at Remy.
Amy gives a thumbs up and starts flipping through the pages.
While Remy is doing this, she looks at the rest of you and says, so, now we are being tested. Which means you gotta be smart about what you show.
Okay. Well, I have been being tested by a green dragon my entire life, so I should be good at this.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, of course. And how has that ever worked when you made a false step?
Usually, I mean, it's probably different because that was a non-hostile, at least to me, green dragon. So, there was usually an explanation and perhaps a reflection, sometimes a small punishment, but not necessarily anything more drastic than that.
Right. So, I think in that case, we should definitely stop talking until Remy finishes his spell. She doesn't say anything else until Remy finishes casting.
The Andy Griffith whistle theme starts going.
Spell it.
Wait, hold on. Do you guys know what the Andy Griffith show is? Do I have to explain that one?
I'm pretty sure I don't know.
I am familiar with the name.
It's like oh well, that's probably not gonna work out.
We're not hearing anything. At least I'm not hearing
Yeah, I
anything.
probably didn't think so. It was at least worth the shot.
Well, at least we don't have to worry about
It's the whistle theme that goes da 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 da.
Okay.
Da 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 da.
Okay. So the spell is cast and everyone finds itself tied together. Telepathically. In your mind. The word just doesn't want to come out, so. Once again, there is an odd feeling when this spell takes, and Remy aims it at every member of the group, including Annie. That was a question.
Wait.
Well, she's in our heads anyway.
Yeah. All right. So there's that weird moment where there's a reverberation. You know, when you put a microphone close to another microphone, you see.
We all just start hearing our own. We all just start hearing our own thoughts. We're like, wait.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I didn't want everyone else to know about this.
We're like, wait, this is trippy. No. It's a constant feedback loop. No.
You know, you couldn't hear anything, and then suddenly you hear audience's voice. You know, she's kind of hot. Damn it! The spell started. All right. there's once again this duality that comes in when the spell takes her and pushes it inside of your head. Her presence is both light and playful, but heavy and focused. And Fisher, you had your doubts about how serious she was taking everything that was happening, but on that brief moment where everything pushes itself inside of your mind, you have that, oh, good heavens. Everything she is taking into account around you. For a brief moment, you have all of her perception just pushing itself inside of this bond, and you are aware of not only the surrounding, but you are aware of leaves falling, of the weight of your own foot on the ground, of audiences breathing, of a single feather falling from the side of Remy, just going. You feel it and you sense it, gently falling to the ground, and then everything goes back to the size it's supposed to have. But you know that was her perception of everything. She didn't miss a single thing, and you were even made aware of more than you thought was possible to be aware at that brief moment.
She's got that daredevil vision.
So, now that we're all in a quiet place, maybe you'd like to elaborate more on what those punishments would be. Because right now, our enemy at least knows that you know another green dragon. I was expecting you to be a little bit more subtle about this, but what has been said has been said. So now, keep elaborating, please.
For like punishments, I would say they were more like emotional than physical. Like, how do I?
You didn't get angry, just disappointed.
Well, no, not. I'm saying like I wasn't punished physically. Like if like I made a mistake, there wasn't usually I was very used to at that time physical punishment from my father or other. That's kind of the Dragonborn culture, or more the Dragonborn cultures. It's like you screw up, you're gonna get like punched, or you're gonna have to do some hard physical
outside.
The
Yeah.
worst.
You have to do some hard physical labor or something physical usually. That's how I'd been. But once I kind of became more under Jahasvir's wing, that was Ven, my clan's Jahasvir's wing.
That's okay, you keep shifting between the two.
Jahasvir's wing. It became more like, oh, how do I put it? Like
Emotional manipulation?
Yeah, kind of like more like emotional manipulation to make me feel bad, or punish me in some way so that I like couldn't have people be disappointed in me. Like he would make it so sometimes like all the priests wouldn't that I was around wouldn't talk to me, or would give me it would just make it very awkward, in social, everyone, I would feel like everyone knew I'd messed up and would make me feel bad about that, and
Alright, so emotional blackmail, that's always good to know.
and then would usually have one of them after a few days. Sometimes my friend, come and like explain to me what I did wrong, and then some way I could fix it. And at that point, I'd be desperate enough to try anything, and she would seem all and she'd be all kind and stuff at that moment, and like I'd apologize and then try and fix it.
Annie has a brief moment where her head turns away from audience, and she looks at you, Fisher and Remy, and you're not sure how she is able to do this, but her mind goes completely blank. But Fisher and Remy, you can read on her lips, narcissist victim.
Fisher's like, damn.
So, extreme manipulation, emotional punishment. That so far is on track with everything that I know. So, tell this audience, if you're God, and there is that feeling of, she just says God in her mind, but you don't know why. You all see your hand going up at the same time going, God. God.
Oh God, gonna throw up.
So, what would you be able to expect if your God wanted you to find your way back home through a forest that he made?
Well, I'll be honest, if he didn't want me to find my way back, it would be quite difficult. But if it was a test where there was a possibility of me actually getting to where I needed to be, my guess is he would probably do it in a way where either if I wasn't his ally, my guess is he'd try and do it in a way where he kind of could learn the enemy's strengths and weaknesses as they tried to get a sense of who they were before he actually had to interact with them. You know, from my knowledge of kind of what was taught to me and how my, master works, my guess is what's happening now is he kind of wants to see or test us in a way, kind of see some limits of our capabilities, how we interact with each other, what our purpose might be, and basically use the time of us trying to find his actual lair to kind of glean information about us and our party's, strengths and weaknesses before we actually interact with them.
All right, so the next question is very easy. How do we find our way through an illusory labyrinth without revealing the full scope of our magical abilities and not reveal any cracks in the functioning of this party?
Well,
Remy, with your practice vision of people, her smile feels slightly forced at this very moment.
Really? Can't imagine why.
Well, I think to not show cracks isn't necessarily hard. But to actually make it through the labyrinth without revealing all of our abilities, I'm not 100% sure because, as I said, I think, at least to my knowledge of my capabilities, my master, if he didn't want me to find something, I wouldn't. So for me, it's almost like somewhat up to the dragon. But if someone else has some way to kind of pierce through illusions more easily, I'm all ears, because I don't think I have an easy capability to be able to break through this unless the dragon wants me to.
She has a moment where she just closes her eyes, and for a brief moment you feel your awareness of everything around you expand to such a degree that you are aware of every single detail around you. And you all, because of that, you all have the same reaction as her when she opens her eyes. She points in a direction, and not as a reaction to her pointing in that direction, but at the same time as she is, all of your head go in the same direction looking there. She says, well, this is the way to keep moving forward. But that's the obvious way. It is the path of less resistance.
Do we think maybe we take the harder path? Because that would supposedly force us to use or show our hand, so to speak.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is more, now we have a choice. The path of least resistance will most likely ask less resources of us, but will test us personally. The path of most resistance will most likely test our resources, but since we'll all be completely aware of everything that's going on and fully on our toes, it's not going to test us, but our capabilities. So, which one do you feel like is less of a problem that he would learn? Your abilities or your group?
I will say abilities we have more control over what we use than group. It's less, we know less, like in a combat situation, if that's what we're being described of taxing our resources, we can kind of pick and choose what resources we need and what we want to show. In testing of our group, we have less control over that.
Uh-huh.
And also, I think that from my knowledge of green dragons, and speaking from personal experience, a green dragon can do far less with the group's can do far less from knowing a group's combat capabilities than it can from actually knowing a group as itself. You know, I think if we end up having to fight the green dragon, I think it would be much stronger from actually learning our group than it would be from learning our combat capabilities.
I could see that.
All right. Well then, in that case, and she points in a different direction, and again, not as a reaction to her pointing, but because you are in tune to all of her senses. In that case, that would be the direction we want to go in. If there is anything you need to be preparing before we embark on this road, now would be the time. If not, well, who wants to be the first one to step forward?
Audience steps forward.
And somewhere at the bottom of a labyrinth, a dragon looks at this saying, "Ah, so he steps forward first."
Fair enough.
All right. With this, I think it wouldn't be that bad of an idea if Jorg be part of this challenge.
Yeah.
And anyway, we at least have our 3 hours. Because we often begin 10 minutes later than I want to, I try to push this to 140 instead of 130. But, we're 15 minutes above that, so I feel comfortable ending this with you having skipped a hard fight. With a arcane laboratory escaped experiment.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. We can fight Warwick another day.
Yeah.
And I even planned this so that even Remy would have difficulty getting through the saves.
Yeah, I'm okay. We didn't fight it then.
Yeah.
I only have 3 proficiencies. I don't get
Yeah.
the 4th one until like level 15.
No, I know.
To be fair,
I
if
know.
they were con saves, Remy would probably.
No, Remy
He's got
keeps saying that
proficiency
he
in
only
that.
has one weakness, and it's strength.
Oh, right. No, sorry, not con saves, strength saves. Which audience would be fine with.
Yeah.
Alright.
All right, and so next episode, we will start this chess match with a green dragon and hopefully a full party. All right. Well, I can close that.
I'm gonna dip out. I will see you guys.
All right. Then see you next episode. Or in the chat between the two, All right. So, with this... Oh, yeah, a little bit of campfire. Because that's always nice. All right, so, with this, thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for watching. Hope you had a pleasant, whatever part of the day it is, wherever you are in the world. Hope to see you again next week. Wednesday, if you're watching the live broadcast. Friday, if you're watching the rebroadcast. Each one is at 7:30, but the Wednesday broadcast is at 7:30 Western Coast, while the rebroadcast is at 7:30 Eastern Coast time. And between the two, on Thursdays, we have map making. So tomorrow we're gonna keep doing the village, a few villages. That would be nice, and nice change of pace also. Yeah, that's the schedule for now. So hopefully see you later during the week or next week for the continuation of this. And remember, if you want to support, that's always very much appreciated. You can follow us, leave comments. We've got Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. If you want to do more, you can make donation, become a Patreon, subscribe on Twitch. Very much appreciated. Very much would like to have a higher subscription count, also a higher follower count, but nice. But anyway, all of the information for all of those is below the window. And if you still want to help, do more, or if you can't do any of those things and still want to help, well, there's a very free thing you can do that's mostly effortless, and that's spreading the word of this channel. So with this, thank you for being here. See you next week. And as always, stay safe and stay healthy. Good night.